Job well done, Nashville Superspeedway. What a debut it was for the Ally 400. Man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But another week, same story, different track. Kyle Larson, domination. The man is unstoppable. I mean, holy hell. You would think when a guy leads 264 out of 300 laps that this race would be completely boring and probably could have been summed up in maybe 3 or 4 minutes. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff to talk about. New contenders in the mix like Stenhouse and Almirola. For a second, I thought it was going to be the 2008 Brickyard 400 all over again because there were 11 cautions in this race. There was a lot of cautions, and 9 of them were all tire/brake issues. So with stage 1, no surprise. Hendrick cars, they're dominating, especially Kyle Larson. He gets out and takes off. He actually started in 4th place because it was Eric Almirola and Kyle Busch who started on the front row. Larson started in 4th. Very quickly, split the middle, made it 3 wide on the back straightaway to take the lead. I think maybe, 10 laps into the race? So yeah, that was very quickly early on in the race, but it didn't take long for us to really see that, this high horsepower, low downforce, maybe that should be the norm, maybe just an idea because the racing was a lot of fun to watch. First of all, it's a hot, slippery racetrack. It was, very hot today. High downforce or high horsepower, low downforce track that's going to cause drivers to really have to take control of the car. We saw cars slipping and sliding underneath each other. Yeah, you still had that, that Gen 6 dirty air issue, but still, it was not as much of a factor as it would have been under the 550 horsepower package. We saw a lot of great battles, especially in the middle of the pack. Not necessarily much up front because Larson was gone. There was a lot of good battles in the middle of the pack, and NBC did a good job at making sure they didn't just stay on Larson the entire time, kind of like what Fox did. But it was around 40 laps when the first domino effect on a lot of brake problems for multiple teams would commence. So Ryan Blaney reports on the radio, 40 laps in, he's got no brakes, comes in to make a pit stop. Now, that would just be one of many problems for Blaney, but that would create the first round of green flag pit stops a lot earlier than normal. Usually 60 to 70 laps is the pit window. This was around 40, 42 laps. And there was a lot of teams where if you would unloosen the right front tire and take it out, you just see a ton of brake dust just fly out of the car, especially under Ryan Blaney. There were tons of brake dust that would just fly out of the right front tire. And it caused for a lot of concerns on if teams were prepared for this racetrack because remember, this is a brand new track. The Cup Series has never raced on here. The last time there was even a race at Nashville before this year was 2011. So you really have no research on this racetrack. And teams overall, they really just didn't anticipate for the drivers to use this much brake input at a track like Nashville. And it showed. We're going to get to that in a minute. But when that green flag cycle was taking place, meantime, Larson's leading, but Kyle Busch is closing in. And by the time Larson and Kyle Busch make their pit stops on lap 45, Busch is right on Larson's bumper. But then a caution would come out. Tyler Reddick, coming off of pit road, gets a bit too hard, gets a bit too excited with the throttle, gets his right side tires on the grass and spins to bring out a caution. Luckily for Larson and Busch, they were already on pit road, so they didn't have any issues. Blaney, on the other hand, he got the worst end of the deal because he was trapped 31st, I believe, 1 lap down because he already made his pit stop and was 1 lap down when that caution happened. So his situation went from bad to worse. And then his situation went from bad to worse to flat out horrible. On that restart, 1 or 2 laps after the restart, Ryan Blaney breaks something. It has a tire issue, either a brake rotor problem or some type of tire problem, but goes hard into the outside wall in turn 1 to bring out another caution. And you could tell from the interview and how he got out of the car, he was pretty shaken, which I don't blame him because if you watch the replay, he took a really hard hit. But like I said, he wouldn't be the only guy with problems. With 11 laps to go on the same stage, Justin Haley, who might have had the same problem, again, either a brake rotor issue or had a tire coming down. But again, at the same exact spot, goes up, slams the outside wall in turn 1. But then right behind him, Chris Buescher runs over debris, either caused by Justin Haley or by Ryan Blaney, but runs over it, and then he goes into the outside wall, also with a tire down. There were so many tire problems. People were talking about tires. People were talking about brakes already in stage 1. I had the assumption that this is the Brickyard 400 all over again back in 2008. We're probably going to see competition cautions every 10 laps so that drivers and teams can check their brakes. I mean, it was that mad. But yeah, back to the race. So after that caution came out between Haley and Buescher, sets up a restart with 5 to go. Chase Elliott and some stay out at the last minute, while Larson, Kyle Busch, and a few other drivers near the middle pack of the field, they all pit for tires. So you got Elliott and Kurt Busch side by side to restart with 5 to go, but Chase Elliott will get the upper hand and win stage 1. And this is an interesting little fact. When Chase Elliott won stage 1, that broke a streak. For the first time since May 23rd at Circuit of the Americas, someone other than Larson won a stage. More than almost a month since someone other than Larson won a stage. That just tells you how dominating and how much of a god Kyle Larson's been in the NASCAR Cup Series this season. I mean, the fact that nearly a month there was only one guy who won a stage, and that's Kyle Larson. That's insane. But anyways, Kurt Busch was able to hold on for second. Larson, he sliced his way up into the field, but didn't have enough time. He would settle for third. Daniel Suarez in fourth. Kyle Busch fifth. Austin Dillon in sixth. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 7th place finish in stage 1. But he had a really fast car. It was in the top 5 for majority, if not all, of stage 1. 8th is Brad Keselowski's teammate Logano in 9th. And Matt DiBenedetto, Penske affiliate, rounds out the top 10. Now, after stage 1, we knew, all right, Larson, once again, he's going to be the guy to beat. But it seemed like Kyle Busch would be the guy to be able to put up a fight, kind of similar to the Coke 600 near the final stage. Larson was dominating, but it seemed like Kyle Busch could be the guy that could, give Kyle Larson a run for his money. Same situation here. Larson dominating, but Kyle Busch was able to keep in touch. Remember, before that first round of green flag pit stops, he was able to eat away Larson's lead. So it seemed as though that it was going to be, once again, between the Kyle and Kyle show with Larson and Busch. But it was stage 2 when things started to go downhill for Kyle Busch. So Larson's the leader, Kyle Busch in second. But then, very quickly, Busch's car is all over the place. He's struggling, reporting loose, tight. He is all over the place, and it doesn't take much for him to fall from second to fifth like that. And you got drivers like Logano, Hamlin, and Stenhouse who would go up, challenge, and pass Kyle Busch not with ease, but didn't take much for him to battle Kyle Busch for Stenhouse to move into second place. And Stenhouse was one of a few drivers that were having really great runs. I mean, you had Chastain coming off of a great run in the All-Star race last weekend to finish 5th. Christopher Bell, 8th. Almirola, the pole sitter, who needs to have just one race where nothing goes wrong. 9th place, his teammate Cole Custer in 10th. Stewart Haas, this was overall their best race. This was their best race in my opinion, where all 4 cars had something. The results might not show it, but trust me, this was SHR's best race in 2021. Usually, it's only Harvick that shows some type of speed. But this race, Harvick showed speed, Almirola showed speed, Custer had his moments, as well as Chase Briscoe. You had then DiBenedetto, who was originally in the top 10 until a few laps later he reported that he had a cylinder going down. And then right around that same time, a few laps later, Bubba Wallace brings out another caution after he ran over some debris, probably stemming from the Ryan Blaney incident. We don't know. But he spins in turn 2 to bring out a caution. Then after that, for that restart and for a good portion of that stage, we saw a lot of aggressive racing. Again, in the middle of the pack, we saw drivers getting on each other's corner panels, getting each other loose, bumping each other out of the way. 3 wide action on the back straightaway. You saw a lot of guys go below the apron to make a pass on the front stretch. Again, a lot of aggressive racing around the middle of the pack. From the bottom half of the top 10 to around 15th place was where we saw the most type of racing being shown. And again, shout out to NBC, because unlike Fox, they actually showed passing for position in the middle of the pack. Yeah, it's not in the top 10, but at least we're seeing something happen. And I'm going to get to NBC later on in the review, because they did, in my opinion, a fabulous job covering the race. Miles better than Fox. But once again, back to Kyle Busch. He continued to struggle during that entire time. His car was like a demon. Listen to this.
Be nice if we could get this car under control. What do I have?
Yeah, let's just say Radioactive is going to be very interesting from Kyle Busch's perspective. Yeah, he was not a happy camper, which sucked because I feel like he was the only guy that could really challenge Kyle Larson. And at first, it seemed like he had a really fast car, especially since he qualified second. You know, in practice, they struggled a lot. So for him to qualify second in the race, and to have a really strong run in stage one, for him to struggle like that from stage 2 on was really shocking to see. The 7th caution of the race involved Stewart-Haas Racing's Cole Custer. Again, was running in the top 10, had a solid race up to this point. He reports another brake issue, which causes him to cut a right rear tire and brings out the caution. Like I said, I think all but 2 cautions, had nothing to do with a tire issue or a brake issue. Now, it's interesting where this took place because this took place near the end of stage 2 when that caution came out. So you had Briscoe, Reddick, and Austin Dillon. They took 2 tires while everyone else took 4 with 6 laps to go. It took Larson 1 1/4 of a lap for him to go from 4th to 1st. Again, even though he was on old tires, I get that. Even though, Dillon, Briscoe, and those guys, they were on old tires still. Just seeing Larson slice his way through the field the way he did, I mean, it seemed like the other 39 drivers were on 750 horsepower, while Larson was on 800 horsepower. I mean, he was just that fast. It was impossible to stop him. But yeah, Larson go on, win stage 2. Austin Dillon in second. Briscoe in third. They were able to hold on with those two tire strategy, especially Briscoe, because he needs something to go his way. He has had an abysmal 2021 season. William Byron in 4th. Kyle Busch, even with all the problems that he had, he still somehow finished 5th in stage 2. That shows you how good I think Kyle Busch would have been for the win. He had all these problems and still was inside the top 5. 6th, Denny Hamlin. 7th, Chase Elliott. Stenhouse in 8th. Eric Almirola and Kevin Harvick ran out the top 10, 9th, and 10th. Stage 3, same story. Larson leading. Kyle Busch, the only driver that could contend. Reports his car struggling even more. He gets caught up in traffic. Plus, with an ill-handling race car, he just became a sitting roadblock. I mean, he went from being in the top 10 to maybe being 25th. I mean, he was slow. And when you have an ill-handling race car, plus you're in the middle of traffic, so your car is going to react differently in traffic than compared to up front. He was, like I said, he was not a happy camper. There was also another caution before that incident with Kyle Busch. Ryan Preece breaks a brake rotor and spins for the 9th caution, which is very interesting because this is right around the pit window. Again, 60 to 70 laps is around the average pit window for fuel. When the caution came out with around 80 to go, that kind of set up a potential fuel-saving stretch to the end. Because even though there were some speculations of, hey, we might get a caution based on how frequent the cautions have been occurring, with a bunch of drivers, cutting down tires or, having brake issues and things like that. Many people were speculating of a potential fuel-saving run to the end. But yeah, when we restarted with 78 laps to go, or at least around that area, Chastain came into the mix. He was the only driver that stayed out, and he stayed out on old tires, banking on a caution so that he could basically, get some track position, and it worked in his favor. Unfortunately, another SHR driver with tire issues. Briscoe reported that the brakes went to the floor and went into the wall in turn 3 to bring out the 11th and final caution. Now, on that restart, after that caution on the restart, Chase Elliott tried to make a move 3 wide underneath William Byron and Larson on the restart. Willie B was having none of it, was able to hold Chase Elliott at bay. I understand why Chase Elliott made that move because it seemed as though the only way you were going to pass Larson was on a restart. And even that seemed a bit impossible. There was a lot of exciting racing. Again, like I said in stage 1 and stage 2, a lot of exciting racing, but they were all happening behind Larson. Larson was just gone. But he would not be out of the woods just yet. There was a little bit of an incident between him and his fuel temps, or not his fuel temps, but his engine temps going up because his grill was just covered with debris. He's able to get that sorted. Then he had to go into fuel saving mode because, like I said, when that final caution came out, it was around near the end of that pit window. So many people assume that if we don't get a caution, we're going to have a fuel saving mode to the finish. And that's what we got. You had Larson saving fuel. All drivers, except for 3 in the top 10, Chastain, Stenhouse, and Suarez, because those drivers, they pitted after that Briscoe caution. So those 3 drivers that are in the top 10, they can go all the way to the very end. But Larson, Byron, Harvick, and those drivers, they have to start saving fuel if they want to make it to the finish. And Chastain, he was coming. I think he was 6th or 7th when that restart took place, and he was just passing cars left and right. But he was not too close enough for Larson. By the time Chastain got to 2nd place, Larson was, I think, 4 or 5 seconds ahead. And by that time, Larson had saved enough fuel to make it to the end, and he would go on to win the inaugural Ally 400 at the Nashville Speedway, his 4th win of 2021, his 10th win overall of his Cup career. He led 263 out of 300 laps. It's his 3rd Cup win in a row, 4th if you want to include the All-Star race, and this is a crazy statistic. But if you take a look at his last 6 races, first, second, 1.5 is his average finish in the last 6 races. 3 wins, 3 second place finishes. You can't get any better than that. I mean, yeah, you could win 6 in a row, but I mean, come on. To be this dominant, especially from where Hendrick was last year, is absolutely mental. And here's also a cool little statistic. The last time that a Cup Series was at Nashville Fairgrounds in 1984. The winner of that race was Jeff Bodine for Hendrick Motorsports. And guess what number he drove? The 5. So it's a cool little statistic there. But yeah, another week, another race dominated by Larson. Take a look at the results to the left of your screen. So Larson wins, Chastain in 2nd. Another great run for him. William Byron, 3rd place. Eric Almirola, 4th place finish. I'm happy for him. This man needed something to go his way this season. He had a really great car. It wasn't like that type where he started on pole and then fell off and then was able to get a lucky break with fuel saving mode and all that. No, he had a really good car. The entire race was in the top 10 for majority of the event. Really nice run for the 10 team. Kevin Harvick, solid top 5 finish for him. Ricky Stenhouse, their best run of 2021. Actually, I think JTG's best run in years. 6th place finish. They were in the top 5 for all of stage 1. They were in the top 10 for majority of the race. Great run for the 47 team. Great run for the 99 team. Daniel Suarez and Team Trackhouse. What a run for them. 7th place. Look at the drivers. You have Chastain, 2nd. Almirola, 4th. Stenhouse, 6th. Suarez, 7th. How about Chris Rebella in 9th place? He, outside of his win at the Daytona Road Course, he hasn't had that good of a season. Kurt Busch also wanting to turn around his season. Nice top 10 finish for him in 8th. Kyle Busch somehow, even with all the troubles and all the crap he had to deal with today, somehow was able to salvage an 11th place finish. Austin Dillon in 12th. Chase Elliott, 13th. Today's race was less of a Hendrick dominated day and more of just a Larson dominated day because Byron was there, but he wasn't that much of a factor. Chase Elliott was there, but again, not much of a factor. Newman 14th, Bowman 15th. Nice run for LaJoie. Top 16 finish for him. McDowell, Alfredo teammate 17th and 18th. Reddick 19th, and Eric Jones rounds out the top 20. Yeah, Bubba Wallace 22nd or 21st. Denny Hamlin, I believe, ran out of fuel on the final lap, so he'll end up finishing in 22nd. Martin Truex Jr. just had a bad day overall. Was caught having penalties on pit road twice. Ever since his win at Darlington, this 9T team has just been off, and I mean off in a big way. Keselowski also struggled today, 24th. DiBenedetto 25th. Custer 31st. Briscoe would finish 32nd. And AC Blaney ran out the rear dead last. Now let's take a look at the playoff grades. So Larson, with that win, gets more points added to his playoff column. But the battle is for the final transfer spot. Top 16, Chris Buescher. Now just 26 points ahead of Kurt Busch with that 8th place finish. Kurt Busch gained a ton of positions, as well as Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with his 6th place run. Matt DiBenedetto, the loser of this race, falls from 17th to 19th. Ross Chastain gained some ground, now just 50 points below the cut line. As for my thoughts on this race, I enjoyed this race. I really enjoyed this race. Again, with this high horsepower, we saw drivers really having to grip the wheel. A lot of exciting racing. Again, in the middle of the pack. Not so much up front, but that's okay. As long as there's good racing somewhere, I'm fine with it. Shout out to NBC. They put, again, NBC and Fox is night and day. Fox, I just couldn't be invested into it. With how NBC broadcasted that race and the information that both Steve, Jeff, and Dale Jr. gave during that race, really insightful and was really made the race much more interesting in my opinion. Rick Allen, he's every year he gets better and better and better as a broadcaster. I really like NBC's team. The four-man crew, I can understand why it could be too many voices, but when played right, it can work off really well, and I think today was a good example of that. Overall, just a really great broadcast, I think, in my opinion, by NBC, and it made the race that much better. The race itself, like I said, besides the brake issues, which were a very concerning situation, I think this race had a lot of stuff. It had great racing, a lot of passing, a lot of storylines, even a fuel-saving mode near the end of the race. Yes, it could have had, it's not the best race. I'm not saying that, but I thought it was a really solid race. And once again, it's another example why the next gen package should be high downforce or high horsepower, low downforce. High horsepower, low downforce. Not the other way around, all right? The man's a god. The man is a god. The guy just, anything he touches that has a steering wheel, he just wins. Whether it's on asphalt, on concrete, or on dirt, the guy is just a god. I'm sorry, you cannot deny it. You just can't. But man, these next 9 races are going to be a lot of fun to watch, especially with that top 16 battle between Buescher, DiBenedetto, Kurt Busch, and Stenhouse. And the races we got coming up, we got the road course. We got next weekend. We got a Pocono doubleheader. That's a great opportunity for some drivers that are around the top 16 or below the top 16 field to gain some points on their opponents. You got Road America, you got the Indy Road Course, and of course Daytona as a final regular season race. This is going to be a very exciting stretch to the playoffs, and I cannot wait. I know people don't like the playoff grid, but you gotta admit it, it's making things pretty exciting. So at least in the chase for the playoffs. But yeah, that's going to conclude this episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. What are your guys' thoughts on this race in the comment section down below? We had a sellout crowd at Nashville, 40,000, and I think the fans got a really good race out of that. And hopefully next season it's just as good. But yeah, that's it for this show. My name is Jet. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Congratulations to Kyle Larson, your 2021 Ally 400 winner at Nashville.